You know that feeling when you scroll through endless laptop listings, see a glossy photo of a 17-inch screen, a flashy RTX chip, and think you've finally found the perfect machine for both your creative projects and the occasional game night, only to discover it feels like a compromise the moment you open the box. I've been there, and that hesitation is why I'm doing this deep dive, to help you avoid the disappointment of a laptop that looks amazing on paper but falls short when you actually try to render a 4K video or run a game at decent frame rates. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's start with the environment this laptop is built for. The ProArt StudioBook 17 is marketed as a mobile workstation, but ASUS also tags it as RTX Studio Ready, which basically means they want it to sit comfortably in a creator's workflow while still giving you enough graphics horsepower for some gaming. The 17-inch 1610 NanoEdge display is one of the biggest selling points because it gives you more vertical real estate than a typical 16:9 screen. In practice, that extra height translates to seeing more of your timeline in Premiere Pro or more of your Photoshop canvas without constantly scrolling. For anyone who spends hours editing footage, that extra screen space is a genuine productivity boost, not just a marketing gimmick. Now, let's talk about the core of the machine, the CPU and GPU combo. The i7-9750H is a 6-core, 12-thread processor that can turbo up to 4.5 GHz. It's not the newest chip on the market, but it still holds its own for most Adobe Suite tasks and even for compiling code or running virtual machines. Paired with the RTX 2060, you get a GPU that supports hardware-accelerated ray tracing and AI-based denoising, which is a boon if you're working with Octane or Redshift. In real-world tests I've seen, the RTX 2060 can push a 1080p game like Shadow of the Tomb Raider into the high 20s FPS range with medium settings, and it can handle 4K video export in Premiere with GPU acceleration noticeably faster than an integrated graphics solution. If you're a gamer who wants to squeeze a few decent sessions in between work, this is more than a just-for-show card. Storage is where the StudioBook tries to differentiate itself. ASUS bundles two 512GB PCIe NVMe drives in RAID 0, effectively giving you a single 1TB volume with the speed of two drives working together. The result is lightning-fast load times for large project files. I've opened a 300GB After Effects project stored on this RAID array, and the timeline scrubbed instantly, with previews rendering in a fraction of the time you'd expect on a single SSD. The trade-off, though, is that RAID 0 offers no redundancy. If one drive fails, you lose the entire volume. For a professional who backs up daily to an external NAS, that's acceptable, but it's a hidden risk you need to be aware of. Connectivity is another area that often gets glossed over in spec sheets, but it matters when you're trying to plug in external monitors, card readers, and fast storage. The StudioBook packs an HDMI 2.0 port, a full-size USB-C that supports Thunderbolt 3, an SD card reader, and several USB-A 3.2 ports. In a real-world studio, that means you can hook up a 4K monitor via HDMI while simultaneously using the Thunderbolt port for a fast external SSD and a USB-C hub for peripherals. The only gripe I've found is that the power brick is fairly bulky, and the laptop's rear vent can get warm when you're running both the CPU and GPU at full tilt. It doesn't throttle dramatically, but you'll notice the fan kicking in louder than on a typical Ultrabook. So who should actually buy this machine? If you're a freelance video editor, 3D artist, or graphic designer who needs a large, color-accurate screen, fast storage, and a GPU that can accelerate rendering, the StudioBook 17 hits a sweet spot. Its 32GB of DDR4 RAM means you can keep multiple heavy applications open without swapping, and the RAID storage cuts down on the dreaded wait for files to load moments. It also works for gamers who aren't chasing 144Hz esports performance but want a respectable experience on the side. You can run most modern titles at 1080p with smooth frame rates, and the larger screen makes the experience more immersive. On the flip side, if you're looking for a pure gaming laptop, you'll find the RTX 2060 underpowered compared to the RTX 3060 or 3070-based machines that dominate the gaming market today. Also, if you need long battery life for on-the-go work, the StudioBook isn't designed for marathon sessions unplugged. The 17-inch panel and high-performance components drain the battery in under 4 hours with moderate use. Finally, anyone who relies on built-in storage redundancy should look elsewhere, because the RAID 0 configuration is fast but unforgiving. Let's sum up the practical strengths: a spacious 1610 display that actually improves workflow, a CPU that still handles multi-threaded creative apps without breaking a sweat, a GPU that bridges the gap between work and play, and storage that feels like a small